I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, Rachel and Ron, for the kind invitation to include me in this very meaningful program. When I heard about the plan for a symposium considering pilgrimage, I was stunned because I had just planned a pilgrimage to China and Tibet with the artist and architect Jessica Kung, who views ornaments in Chinese architecture as the missing link in how modern architecture has become spiritually diminished. We were to embark on the journey with a Tibetan Buddhist ordained or initiated yogi master, Lin Hai, who is also a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, TCM, as well as a Shaolin Temple trained Qigong master. I was invited to join this trip to think through Jessica's art in connection to Lin Hai's dragon medicine practice. There were about 11 individuals, among them a 7-year-old child, Jessica's son. We began our journey in Chengdu, visiting the sacred Mount Emi in China, renowned for its Buddhist monasteries, numerous Zen Buddhists, as well as Taoist temples, including Laosa Cave, where he wrote his influential Buddhist text, Tao Te Ching, or The Way. Before delving into my trip and reflections, I want to start with Central Asia, a region that has been at the center of my personal, spiritual, and creative journey and curatorial work. I was born and raised in Afghanistan within a spiritually devout, globally minded family, deeply rooted in the practice of pilgrimage. My mother, for instance, regularly embarked on Sufi site pilgrimages, often monthly. If you were sick, if your husband was not treating you right, get on a pilgrimage, not too far, always an effort. In Central Asia, pilgrimage to sacred sites is not extraordinary. It is integral. It is considered an essential practice for true spiritual engagement. Beyond prayer and fasting, physically committing to arduous journeys to sacred sites is a profound process of healing and transformation. It challenges both body and mind, serving as an exercise to cleanse, reset, and renew one's inner being. Samarkand and Bukhara, Uzbekistan, Isfahan, Iran, and Balkh, Afghanistan were once artistic centers for the entire Islamic world. Miniature painting, woodcutting, embroidery, music, theater, and dance are important aspects of each Central Asian nation's heritage. After 70 years of total isolation and 3 decades of independence since the fall of the Soviet Union, Central Asian countries have been reconnecting with the world through their vast energy reserves of oils, natural gases, and minerals. They are also renegotiating relationships with one another through their small but vibrant artistic communities as they share a great many cultural, linguistic, religious, and ethnic ties beyond geographic lines. Since the end of Cold War, 2 concurrent forces have shaped art production. One mimics the old system with symbolic ornamentation under state control, while the other involves organic, independent processes driven by artists seeking and creating original discourses. In breaking free from dependence on governmental institutions, these artists embrace their ancestral practices, gathering in nature for large, nomadic, caravan-style symposiums, in other words, pilgrimage. In the vast steppes of Kazakhstan, the mountains of Tajikistan, and the mineral lakes of Kyrgyzstan, artists and creatives of various disciplines would come together to eat, sleep, talk, and co-create. These gatherings were not just artistic endeavors, they were acts of reclaiming agency, reconnecting with the environment, the cosmos, and rediscovering the essence of being a creator. The most impressive works embody paradoxes that continue to perplex. Some common euphemisms which come to mind include everything is and is not at the same time. Each truth is half false. There are two sides to every story, and there's a reverse side to every shield. It may be the multiplicities of philosophies nurtured in the collective mind of this region: shamanism, Buddhism, Sufism, Marxism, Bolshevism, Sovietism, create a peculiar mix which compels the artist's exploration of paradoxes. Many works feature regional ethnic subjects, archetypes, nomadic and Sufi traditions, sacrifices, and pagan rites, without attachment to authenticity of any specific narrative. Consciously and subconsciously, these artists engage in pilgrimage as the energetics of aesthetics, a return to nature and through it to themselves. This process enabled deep personal and communal healing, inspired collaborations, and attracted international recognition. Pilgrimages to sacred Sufi saint mausoleums, some repurposed as secret Soviet nuclear sites and later abandoned in ruins, have become powerful catalysts for conceptual art, performance, and video, transforming sites of historical disrepair into spaces of creative renewal. This is one of the images you're seeing is one of this open air symposium that I attended. Participating in these Central Asian open air symposiums revealed that making and curating art isn't ultimately about objects. The word curator derives from caring for, and that care extends beyond objects to people, processes, and experiences. This approach to pilgrimage as a form of healing, cleansing, and social engagement has profoundly shaped my curatorial practice. You're looking at some of my curatorial work over the years. Reflecting on my career, I realize I curate because I fall in love with people and their journeys beyond the artworks. I cherish the creative process as a path, the struggles and the triumphs that artists endure. How do we curate this powerful hermetic process? How can one exhibit the evolution of the spirit? The artist's path is often marked by uncertainty, requiring engagement with diverse personalities, often of their own, and constant confrontation with the ego. Pilgrimage, at its core, is about sublimating the ego to let the spirit shine. From this perspective, curating is about supporting that process, creating receptivity for what is at the heart of artistic endeavor: experimentation, development, and discovery. This requires shifting away from thinking about art and curation, again, solely in terms of exhibition making, instead embracing it as practice. These reflections have led me to consider contemporary mediums and structures that embody and share this process. Performance, with its roots in the earliest cave paintings, remain a powerful form. Lecture performance, in particular, bridge rigorous research and poetic expression, transcending traditional academic conventions. Residencies also offer transformative opportunities, not only for artists, but for curators, to deepen their practices while audiences are linked through closer engagement with art making as a process of prioritizing inquiry as an evolving journey. These models are rooted in care, collaboration, and discovery and transformation of our physical and psychological challenges into spiritual fulfillment. I'm just going to finish showing you these images before I get into Tibet and Chengdu. I encourage you to check out a program that I developed called Field Meeting, which embodies the spirit of sharing the process with an audience through experience, mainly through performances and lecture performances. So these are some examples of about 6 iterations of field meeting that was hosted by various major institutions in New York and also in Asia. Coming to my recent work with the Foundation for Spirituality and the Arts, in which residencies is at the core of the work, allowing me to engage with the artists in profoundly questioning, allowing themselves to think what spirituality really means to them and how does it show up in work, rather than putting them in a position whereby they're having to defend and share the objects that they make through an exhibition. I feel this is the best way to engage them and an audience in the questioning process, which is very sensitive. So these are some of the artists that we have hosted at Charleston, South Carolina. Okay, here we are. I haven't had that much time to process this trip, thanks to this talk I had just started. So please forgive me because it's going to be very, very brief, but there's lots of images. My pilgrimage through China and Tibet, which included rising at dawn to pray with monks, meditation, dragon medicine qigong, climbing staircases equivalent to about 100 Empire State Buildings, deepened my understanding, and also practicing chanting and chut at night after all of that, deepened my understanding of curation as pilgrimage. Despite the historical repression of religion by authoritarian regimes, faith and ritual endure, embedded in architecture, sacred sites, cultural practices, practically everywhere, especially in Tibet. And nature in Tibet is like no other. It feels like a different planet. We'll come to that. A planet where God is on steroids. Chinese sacred architecture, the dragon, embodies a powerful synthesis of cosmic energy, imperial authority, and spiritual transcendence. Unlike the fearsome beasts of Western mythology, the Chinese dragon is benevolent force symbolizing wisdom, protection, and dynamic flow of qi, the life force that animates the universe. As the emblem of the emperor, considered the son of heaven, the dragon bridges the celestial and earthly realms, reinforcing the temple's role as a sacred space where heaven and earth converge. The dragon's dominion over water, weather, and fertility reflects the deep agrarian roots of Chinese civilization, invoking blessings of abundance, harmony, and balance. For pilgrims journeying to these sacred sites, the dragon's presence is not merely symbolic, but an active, energetic guide woven into the architectural fabric. Carved into roofs, ridges, spiraling around pillars, and flowing through stone reliefs, dragons serve as celestial guardians, offering protection while subtly channeling transformative energy. As pilgrims moving through these sacred paths and sites, we engage in a ritual dialogue with the dragon's dynamic force, aligning our personal journey with the flow of qi. This interaction is supposed to trigger spiritual awakening, inner balance, and a profound sense of connection to the cosmos. The pilgrimage becomes more than a physical voyage. It's an immersive encounter with dragon energy that nurtures the soul, guiding the faithful from the mundane towards enlightenment, much like the dragon's own ascent through the realms of the vast cosmos. So here we are, the 100 times Empire State Building amounts of stairs that I climbed over 10 days. Incredibly painful, incredibly challenging, triggering all kinds of psychological and ego-driven questions and issues that I thought I had resolved, all and at the same time just in constant wonder and appreciation and love. You can see I've basically mapped out finding the dragon as the key in the architecture of the temples and the buildings. It's everywhere. Once you start looking, you cannot stop finding the dragon. There we are. This is the group that went to Chengdu. This is the MA Mountain crew. We reduced to 5 to go about 10,000 feet higher when we went to Tibet. This is when we made it finally to the top. The Chinese government has spent a lot of money, incredible amounts of resources in renovating temples and supporting the caretakers of these temples. There's all kinds of speculations around that I don't want to get into right now. But here we finally get into Tibet. I'm just going to really quickly move through it, but you will notice the planet of God on steroids. It's just absolutely breathtaking. And this is just getting off the plane from the airport. Like, it's not like, you wait until you get somewhere. You land and you just encounter this. I'm hoping that I have a chance to really break down a lot of this art that is in these sacred spaces. I want to really thank again Kate and everyone for their distinguishing of what art and art objects are within the spaces, within the space of the journey of the pilgrimage, but also the objects, the offerings. These are nunneries as well as monasteries. They have the majority of them are being taken care of by descendants of descendants of descendants of the same families and people throughout the centuries. So there is absolutely nothing broken about the lineage with most of these sacred sites, contrary to what is usually broadcasted about Tibet and Tibetan life. This is us climbing a cave. Everywhere you went, you postulated. I was a disciple. I was with with a very deep, faithful yogi, so there was no way that I could just wing it. I had a video of showing you the crazy act of getting into that tiny hole. You had to climb in there, and you could do it with your body.
Oh my god. Hysterical.
The beauty of being on a trip with someone that had so much knowledge of every temple, of all its history, of all the Buddhas that traversed there, the miracles that happened, the incredible healings that took place there, from human to cosmological to intergalactic level, was quite extraordinary, and it was something that was part of this sacred journey, was the listening and receiving of all of that as we went through these spaces. That's me in the middle. And here's the city. And here are the devoted hours and hours of postulating. Many of them come from very, very far off. Just a note that China is, the entire of China is currently traveling to Tibet to do these sacred pilgrimages. So it's first sort of receiving on its receiving end itself, which is really, really important and significant for China and its evolution. There's so many ornaments. There's so many. All of these things have so many meanings and symbols that need to be processed. But I will leave that to my next invocation. Thank you so much.